ECDL Advanced, Excel, Lesson 63, Grouping and Sorting within Pivot Tables. As well as displaying data summarized by any of the columns in the original list, pivot tables can also be used to further arrange items into new groups. For example, with data summarized by month, January, February and March can be further grouped into quarter 1. Or, with data grouped by town, selected towns can be grouped to form region 1. Once data has been grouped, the original detail can be hidden so that only the group totals are shown. Okay, we were working with Survey 2. If you've not got it open, please open it. And we want to display the sheet that contains the pivot table. That's the one that's called Sheet 1. If you remember, the survey results are on this worksheet, and the pivot table is on the one that's currently called Sheet 1. Sorting is performed in pivot tables in a similar way to lists. At the moment, this list has the towns in alphabetical order. Place the cursor in the grand total column, and in the Data tab, select smallest to largest. The values are now sorted. With the active cursor still in the grand total column, click the Sort Largest to Smallest button. OK. To return the pivot table to its original state, place the cursor in the Town column and click the Sort A to Z. The towns are now sorted into ascending alphabetical order as they were at the start. The town data can be manually grouped into regions. Click to select Durham. Hold down the Control key, then click Sunderland, and then click Washington. Then release the Control button. If we then go to the Pivot Table Analyze tab, click Group Selection, which will be within the Group section, so Group Selection. And this now creates a group containing just those towns. So now within Group 1 we have Durham, Sunderland and Washington, and Durham, Sunderland and Washington don't appear anywhere else on the list. The group has been named Group 1 by default. If we click on the name, let's change that to Wearside. Let's define another group containing Newcastle, South Shields and Tynemouth and call it Tyneside. So, Newcastle, Control, South Shields, and while the Control key is still pressed, Tynemouth, then lift the Control button. We now want to group these, so Group Selection, and we want to change the name to Tyneside. If we now select any remaining towns and group them under the name Other, so that just leaves us with Bristol and Carlisle. Group the selection, and we want to call the group Other. The groups can be collapsed. Click Wearside, and then click the minus button to hide the detail rows within the Wearside group. Alternatively, if we double-click the group name, it'll toggle between hide and show for that group. So double-click, and then double-click again. In addition, grouping data and hiding and showing the detail is exactly the same for columns as it is for rows. OK, next point. A pivot table can be amended. and the row, column or count data can be changed. Let's change the count data to replies from the town. So if we go to the pivot table field to the area section at the bottom, drag count of town out of the values area, and drag reply into the values area. We did say we want count of town. If we just have a quick look at the survey results, we'll see for the replies it's either a 1 or it's blank. So I suppose if we were asking for the sum of replies, it would be identical to the count of replies. But just for completeness, let's change this to count of reply. Click the down arrow, go for value field settings, and from here, rather than having sum of reply, we can change to count in the Summarize Value Field By section. Then press OK, and as seen, it's not actually changed the values, but what we have got is count of reply rather than sum of reply. This pivot table now displays those who have replied by town and by sex. Okay, let's replace the count of reply with count of town in the values area. So count of reply, drag that out, and town, drag it into the values area. So we're back to where we were before. Pivot tables can also be automatically grouped by adding an extra field. If we click on Town 2 in the rows label area, and then drag it out of the area to remove it, then drag the surname field to below town in the rows labels area, and now the people are grouped by their town. So as an example, let's just hide Carlisle, Durham, Newcastle, South Shields, Sunderland, Tynemouth, Washington. We can see that we're showing just 2 people from Bristol, Maron and West, who are both male. If we go to the survey results, if we do a search for the word Bristol, we will find that 2 cells were found in F14 and F157. F14 and F157. So we've learnt how to set up groups in pivot tables and also how to sort within pivot tables. Okay, this is the end of this section, section 13. Your job now is the revision exercise, which is lesson 64, which you'll find in the CIA Training Excel manual. Okay, best of luck with that. I hope you do well, and I look forward to seeing you next time when we're going to be discussing functions. Okay, I look forward to seeing you then.